Welcome to the Total Wireless Store, where total confidence awaits.
I am done dealing with data overages.
Don't worry, you got this at the Total Wireless Store. Bring your number and get 15 gigs of data for $50 on the nation's best 4G LTE network. And during our 50% more data promotion, you'll actually get 22.5 gigs for the same price.
22.5 for 50? That's a gig deal.
Data it is.
Discover the Total Wireless Stores and get total confidence. The latest phones, the best network, all at great prices. Ends January 2nd, 2019. Excludes ports from TracFone Wireless Inc. brands. Terms at TotalWireless.com.
As humanity has been on the path of embracing diversity, one last minority is still unrecognized: experiencers. These are the contactees, abductees, eyewitnesses, and researchers of the UFO phenomenon, paradimensional realms, and contact with other intelligences. Could it be that some protocol, some map, has been created by our visitors to integrate humanity into Paradigm Galactic? Could this be the experiencer path to disclosure? Welcome to Aquarian Radio, Friday night, with Janet Kira Lessin, Karen Christine Patrick, and the Reverend John Pope, and guests on the Experiencer Path.
Hello again. Welcome to the Experiencer Path. This is Karen Christine Patrick on a beautiful Friday night in my part of the country, in New Mexico. We're having thunder boomers and monsoon season, and it saves us watering our garden, which is awesome, and a lot of fun. So anyway, today we are working on bringing our guests on with us, but in the meantime, we have co-host Janet Kira Lessin. Could you say hello, Janet?
Hello, Janet. No.
Oh, there you go.
Hello, world. Can you hear me okay? I'm
yeah, I can hear you.
Phone
good.
With a new headset system, so hopefully it works well. Good.
Yeah, sounds good. And we also have visiting us the traveling, wandering gypsy who sold his house and is going around the country visiting and is going to come to visit us, Reverend John Pogue. Hi, John. How are you doing?
Hi, ladies. I'm glad that I was able to chime in tonight. And my schedule is in a constant state of flux, but Mom is cooking dinner right now, and it should be ready in about 15 minutes. But I'm like, Mom, perfect. I'm glad dinner's running late, so I could call into the show.
Oh, that's great. so glad to have you. Glad to have you with us. Yeah. Tonight we're talking to Nancy TREMAINE. I think that we finally got her on the horn here. Let me bring her in and just say hello. Hello, Nancy.
Yes.
Are you with us?
Yes, I thought we were on Skype. No?
No, we haven't been able to do Skype very well on this platform, so thank you so much for calling in. And we're going to go ahead and how this show goes is kind of a panel discussion interview. Going to introduce you a bit, let you talk about yourself and your experiences and who you are. It's very experiencer-oriented, so we love all the juicy details. And then we'll take turns with our co-hosts. We'll let John have the first crack since he's about ready to eat. Mama's home cooking. And anyway, Nancy, why don't you tell us about yourself and your experiences? And I know you're an author as well, so go ahead.
I sent you a short bio. Here, I can pull it up. Yes. Okay. I was having such trouble trying to get you on Skype that I threw myself into a panic attack.
Oh, just breathe. Yeah, I know. That's how I feel about it sometimes.
I didn't know.
My partner Brett despises Skype. It's like it's an ordeal when he has to go on Skype. So no, thank you so much. And let me read the little intro I have, and then we can grab the bio and you can catch your breath. So what we had is that we're going to talk about synchronicities and how it began for us. People's perception of their experience is so important. Perception. how some people still consider themselves abductees, how some are able to move to acceptance of being an experiencer. It's not always an easy path. Experiencers who become participants in whatever it is they get taken to do. And also, we're going to, this is an interesting topic because it came up when I went to the Cosmic Highway Conference and we had Misha Johnston about the Reptilians. You know, maybe some of them get a bad rap. And we'll discuss your book and let you tell us more about that. Janet, were you able to grab that bio?
I just got it to work. 1 second here. I'm clicking on it
you're having your computer issues.
Expand so I can see my computer is on its last leg. Poor computer, I love you. Stay with us.
Yeah, give it love and good energy so it holds together long enough to get whatever you got to do next. Now, technology is one of those things that we so necessary. Oh man, okay,
I don't have the money this month. Yeah.
We're sending energy of prosperity and abundance in a computer landing in your life, which just happened to me this last year, so that's great.
Yeah. So I'm going to read the bio that Nancy sent me, and Nancy is a lifetime experiencer, a participant in the Hybrid Project, and a messenger. She is an alien by nature, human by choice, and here on a mission she believes she signed up for. She is here to share the downloads and loving messages she receives from Mr., a reptilian that has been with her in many lifetimes, and the collective mind. Her main mission is to assist humanity in this spiritual evolution by urging them to come forward and lose the fear by stepping out of their safe zone and complete the contracts they signed up for. She has spent the past 6 years reaching out to be heard despite the many people that tried to ignore her, hoping she would go away, and despite the many that worked so hard to silence her. These are the very people that contributed to her becoming the warrior she is today. On this show, we discuss, and we listed the things we're going to be touching upon, but I know we're going to go in many directions here. I just wanted to say that Nancy there's many variations of the types of contacting experiencers. And she is one that realizes that she is a participant. So we have people that are waking up and they go, you know, I'm not a victim, I'm not being abducted, I am participating, I'm a volunteer, I'm here on a mission, I'm an ambassador, I have a message for humanity, I have a job I'm doing to create this, co-create this loving consciousness and oneness and the next level of evolution for humanity and all existence. So anyway, we'll let her tell her story, but I just wanted to add my 2 cents there. But go ahead.
Yeah.
You're the main facilitator today. Karen, take it away.
Okay, yes,
well,
Nancy.
thank you.
I think I'm excited. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to start, in the beginning of this journey, 6 years ago, it was September of 2011 when I began this journey, I was given this message. Your destiny is to learn what you are and to express it perfectly. And at the time, other message, it was just words that I was unable to put meaning to. The words that they give me are usually very few, but I've come to learn that by dissecting them, I can find that really it's the true meaning. The word destiny means my hidden power or my predetermined course of events. During one of my first regressions, I spoke these words. When I use the word they, I am reminded that this includes me. They love me. They are me. So this explains what I am. I am alien by nature. And as far as who I am human. I am human by choice. And I have said this over and over again, that I volunteered for this mission. I chose to be here in this vessel. So this explains who I am. And the why is I am here on a mission to assist humanity in this spiritual evolution. And the last part of their message was that I was to express it perfectly. And so I hope I just did. One of the chapters in my book is titled Doubt. Because no matter what I experienced, there was always this doubt, and there was no way that doubt the doubts about the reptilians were creeping into me because negativity was constantly being hurled at me. And I had been defending the reptilians so long that it seemed futile. And my doubts were put to the test. So I had to at least entertain the information and question if any of it could be true. And I would ask myself, well, if they're so evil, why are their messages so pure and beautiful? And why did they allow me to have my memories back? And then I would get, because you're brainwashed. And I say, if being brainwashed means feeling unconditional love and a life with purpose, then this is what I choose. And then I found this article by Gwen Farrow. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but this is what she had to say, and I love this. This theory reduces all abduction experiences into two types. Number one, the roller coaster ride you cannot wait to get back on. And number two, the roller coaster ride that makes you sick. The individuals in the first group feel unconditional love, blessed, guided, and if given the choice, they would choose not to return to this earth. And that's me, and I consider myself one of the lucky ones. And the second group uses the words torture, rape, helplessness, and these are the people that usually end up in a therapist's office trying to find ways to forget. So the question, what it is a positive or negative assessment of an ET experience is determined not by the actions of the ETs, but by the perception of the experiencer. It is about us, not them. Perception is the way that we perceive our reality. That was another one of Mr.'s first messages. And had I listened to people's negativity, my mission would have been lost. And I realize now the meaning of another one of their messages from early on. Enjoy the ride.
I like that one. No, I really heard that. That was just resonant. I'll comment later. I want to give John a chance to jump in here first because he can't stay with us too long. And go ahead, John, and you can have the first round question comments.
Hey, Nancy. I don't know if you remember me, but I met you at Experiencers Speak 3 in Portland, Maine. Of course, Audrey Hewins conferences, and we hung out a little bit. And I don't know if you remember me, but I definitely remember you.
I remember you. Yes, we did have some nice conversations.
And what's funny is I was trying to get you to come on this show that you're on right now, but at that time in 2014, you weren't ready, and I understood completely. If somebody's not ready or just wants to be off the grid for a while, I get it and respect it completely. Mom is waving me in, telling me that this ham hock dinner is ready, so I'm already, gluing on my shirt. But I wanted to a quick question, or just make a comment. I did an interview with Kevin Estrella, and we've had him on Aquarian Radio before. Also, Pyramids on Mars. Great interview. He's a fun guy to talk to. But he spoke very highly of you and your friendship with him. So I do have to go, ladies. But on that note, tell us about your friendship with Kevin Estrella and maybe how you met him. Hey, ladies, have a great night. I have to go, but I thought that'd be a good question. All right, ladies, take care. I'll follow up with you soon, ladies. All right, bye.
Okay, enjoy your dinner.
Okay, thanks.
How I met Kevin. Well, I received a phone call from Grant Cameron, and he asked me if I would do an interview with Kevin Estrella. And I said, no, I wasn't ready. And he said, would you at least talk to him? So Kevin and I got on Skype, and we ended up on Skype for, I don't know, I want to say 2-3 hours. It was like we'd known each other forever. And, of course, I said I would do an interview with him. And there is some kind of an energy between Kevin and I. Things happen. There's just an energy, very positive. And I feel like I've known him forever. He's young enough to be my son, so it's not in that way. Yes, But yes, I have a deep respect for him, and we really hit it off. We never left each other's side when we were in Canada at the alien convention. We were together the entire time.
Aw, that's sweet.
And Janet, we did that interview with you about what happened with the aliens that we met while we were there.
Yes, you did. It was wonderful. We enjoyed that tremendously, and that's what inspired me to get you on by yourself to flesh out your story even more. I just wanted to comment before I forget. I've been signing my books lately by saying "Enjoy the ride."
Oh no! Yes, that was one of the messages over and over. They tell me, "Enjoy the ride, enjoy the ride."
Yeah, and I wanted to talk. This is one of the things I want to touch on in this show, and we can go into it now or in a little while. But the reptilians have really gotten a bad rap, and you and I have both had some interactions with the reptilians. But I think it'd be great if you tell us more about your interactions with the reptilians and your thoughts and what they said, and whatever you want to say about it, and then I'll share a little bit about mine. But I've had some good ones, and I'd like you to share yours, good or bad, or whatever they are. Just take it away. Thank you.
You want me to go first? Okay. Well, first of all, I have never encountered any evil reptilians or any evil non-human beings. Somehow, people have put the word reptilians and as the pit bulls of aliens. And if you fear the reptilians, you fear yourself, because they are us. We are one. And I believe that they are more than our ancestors. They are at least a part of our creation. They are like parents, watching us killing each other, hoping for a different outcome, trying not to interfere, but nothing changes. But they hope that we would have learned to rule by love, not war. It's not going to happen. And people who question this, just look around you. The greed, the power, the hungry sociopaths that are ruling us right now. Well, look at our president. We're talking about a sociopath. We're talking about someone who has no conscience. We're being poisoned by the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the vaccines, prescription drugs. The reptilians, Mr. and the collective mind, I deal with all of them. They all share the same messages of love, and they are here to save us from ourselves. And they will not allow us to continue on this destructive course of death, greed, and power. This is not our planet. This planet belongs to every living creature. And this is exactly, Mr. has given me this message: closed minds, closed doors. And this is exactly why David States is working on a new cover right now. And, the book is just ready to go. David had drawn a beautiful picture of Mr., but Mr. put an image in my head, and this is what they do, and he does since 2011, and they will not remove that image until it is put to paper. Mr. wanted a cover that was less frightening and still depicting the bond and the love that we share. So the cover of the book's going to be beautiful. It's
I can't wait to see it.
I'm so excited. He sent me a preliminary of it, and it's exactly what Mr. had put in my head. Just our hands holding each other, and I'm wearing an Ankh ring on my wedding finger.
Aww.
And it is beautiful. And everyone should be so fortunate to feel and experience the love that I've been shown by the reptilians, because I can assure you there is nothing stronger than the emotion of you loving you. There's a positive, negative.
So Mr. sounds almost like a beloved, like you were mates or partners in a previous life.
Yeah. we have always been together is how I understand it. And I was asked what was going to happen after I died. It was one of the questions that was put to me by the last interview. And I said, when my brain and my body die, I said my consciousness will live on, and I don't know what form it will choose, but I know that I'll be with Mr.
Well,
yeah,
one of the things that we're discovering with experiencers and people, exploring other things like near death, and is that we simultaneously exist in many avatars and dimensions and levels, vibratory levels. So perhaps what you're getting is that's kind of a amalgamation of what you actually have with him, because time is an illusion of this 3D reality, not really what's going on in the continuum. So you and Mr. have this ongoing, eternal love for each other. And sometimes you're in the same form, and sometimes you're in different forms. But you love each other no matter what.
Absolutely. It's a love that I can't get here on Earth. And it's one of his funny messages, and he does have a sense of humor. He said, you need more love than a human can provide. That is why with man you are never satisfied. That's so true. I've never been able to have a relationship with a man for over 3 years. My friendships have lasted forever. I have forever friendships. But as far as a relationship with a man, never one over 3 years. Seems to be the man. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. The length of a relationship does not define the success or failure of a relationship. Some people are together just for a certain time. You have messages and lessons for each other, and then you're complete with each other. It's just time to move on. I'm on my third marriage, and so is my husband. So that's not even my third relationship.
I have 4. But yours has lasted for you.
Well, I've lived a long life, so I've had, with the 3 relationships, the first 2 were about 12 years each. The third one's 20, and I've had some other shorter ones in there. I've had some at the same time because I explored polyamory for a while. I think my soul is not really human like yours. It's alien, extraterrestrial. So relationship styles and structures in different alien planets and with extraterrestrials are different. So it's not necessarily monogamous. So I've had some simultaneous with people that had no jealousy or qualms about me having more than one relationship at a time. So I've explored it in many ways because I have always felt like a stranger in a strange land.
You were going to talk about your relationship with George, who is your reptilian, correct?
Excuse me. Well, I didn't want to steal your thunder because you're our special guest, but I will talk about George.
Yeah.
Yeah, so George and I met when I was about 4 years old, maybe even younger. But I had conscious memories of meeting George, and I felt afraid of him. I was split because I was a little human girl, and and back in the 50s, I was starting to watch the horror movies about aliens, the Blob and all that stuff, right? And so I wasn't supposed to be relating to a being that looks like this reptilian. So I was afraid of him. And we started to engage telepathically, and I run away from him and into the house and be terrified. My heart was beating a mile a minute. But I kept running into him. So George never gave up. I guess they get frustrated when they know who you are, as a soul in a human avatar, and you're responding that way. And I Sherry White says the same thing. It's like Sherry Wild. Sherry, Sherry, you go through this every single time. You have this fight or flight gut terror reaction, and then you go, oh, that's my family. Oh, So finally I integrated that experience when I met my husband, and we started doing regression therapy, hypnosis. And I uncovered that George was not really trying to hurt me in any way. His telepathic communication was different than those of the Greys or the Anunnaki Whites or the Mantis. I've had ongoing relationships with many different species because, like you, I'm an ambassador. I go to the intergalactic meetings with some are smaller, with just groups of under 100, and some are huge, like a big conference with 100,000 different species. So now I was typing up a story about George, and when I was typing, he came to me, and we did a little forgiveness ceremony with each other. I know it sounds crazy, but, our extraterrestrial friends are not limited to, time and space and to, picking us up in a ship or coming to us at night or taking us astrally. There's no limit to it once you develop the avenues to communicating with them. It's like you have opened the hailing frequencies, like in Star Trek, and you don't need the little device. It's built in the human body. We have the ability to be telepathic and communicate. And I know that the new book selected by Extraterrestrials with William Tompkins, he talks about that. He had ongoing telepathic communication with, he called them my secretaries, but they were actually Pleiadians or, some other species like that. So anyway, so George and I love each other, always have loved each other, and now I'm very comfortable communicating with him.
Okay. Well, see, I don't see Mr. in physical form anymore. We are beyond that. I have a drawing that I did of him that he had me draw, and I didn't know what I was drawing. And when I finished the picture, I'm looking at it now. Alligator feet, the long, heavy tail resting on clawed fingers, scales, and a long blue cloak. And it was days later, he said, write these words below the picture. See me as I am. So that is how he is, but that isn't how I see him. Last time I was with him, he was in a form, a featureless form, and we communicate telepathically, and I can feel his energy, and I know the difference between Mr.'s messages and the collective mind's messages.
Mhm. Yeah, I haven't seen George in like the flesh, so to speak, for probably 30 years. Mm-hmm. He came to me in his original form, many, many years ago. I was still a teenager when I last saw him in 3D, but I did definitely see him in 3D, and my sister saw him as well. So I guess he felt the need to show me himself, and I hope he feels comfortable to show me himself again now that I've become much more relaxed dealing with his form. So I'm leaving that door open, although like yours, like Mr., we've gone beyond that need because we have this communications that's ongoing, and so it's like we have evolved past that. But there's a part of me, the little human part, would like to say, hey, just come and show me yourself. I got really comfortable with some grays. There's a gray I have a relationship with, but I haven't put a name to. Feels male, and he appeared in my bedroom like this past year, and I was fully awake. So I know I'm comfortable with the gray form. Now I would just like to see, the reptilian form. But, Libby Schreiber talked about that. It says you can get comfortable with seeing them, but you have to, strike that agreement up with yourself, and then you, through time, train your fight or flight gut reflexes to settle down and not go into instant reaction whenever you see them. So.
Yeah, I had a gray wake me up in October of 2013, and I was sleeping, and he was so close to me I could actually feel his face against my face, and it felt like peach skin. And it was a small gray, and he had one of his legs was actually on my bed as he was bending down into my ear, and he said, "La vie." And I wasn't afraid. I never felt any fear. And I said, "Leave me alone. I'm tired. I'm the crabbiest person in the world if you try to wake me up." But I felt no fear. So he said louder, "La vie." And I said, "I'll remember it and I'll look it up tomorrow," because I knew what he wanted me to do. He wanted me to get out of bed, go to the computer, and Google the word "La vie." So the third time, he actually screamed it in my ear. "La vie." Okay, damn it. I got out of bed, into the living room. I got on the computer, and I said, "How do you spell it?" And, well, I didn't tell you this part. I was actually felt humor because the word "la vie" sounded French, and I thought, I've got a French-speaking gray alien in my bedroom. So I really thought about humor in that. So I came out, and I pulled it up, and it isn't a real flattering definition. And it isn't even actually a word. It's only in the, what's the dictionary? It's not the regular dictionary. It's the urban dictionary. And La vie is a female with curly hair, intelligent and stubborn, loud and crazy, airheaded and perverse, lively and fun, mind-changing, competitive, determined, dependent, strong, and unwilling to follow rules. And I was mad. I thought, you woke me up to tell me what a piece of crap I am? You know.
That's cute.
But I realized what it was. Is I went back to bed, and I woke up at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I came right to the computer, and what was there was an interview that I had done, the very first interview I ever did, and it was in Novi, Michigan, where my experience took place in 1961, and it had hit the computer, and he was telling me that if you want to be heard, you've got to act like a man, because this is a man's field, ufology and all of this. This is not a woman's field. You have to be a very strong and competitive woman and loud. And so that's what I've done. You know, the last 6 years, I have literally been screaming to be heard. And people ignoring me, hoping I would go away. And I found the ugly side of this. There's a competition in this. And I was so naive. I had no idea that people actually saw this as a competition of who's got the scary story. Well, if they're looking for fear, they're not going to find it in my story because I'm not selling fear. But there is a lot of, everybody wants to be at the top. Nobody wants to be outdone. I'm not talking about everybody, but I've found so much of this. And so many people tried to silence me. And that was really difficult. But because of them, I am who I am now. You know, the warrior I am. I thank God that they treated me the way they did, the men and the women. And, I'll never mention names. You know who they are. And they're probably listening.
Yeah, we know who they are. Well, I think that's disgusting, the competitive nature. There's so few of us in the field, and we're on the same, side of disclosure, of revealing the truth. And that's why this whole monetary system catapults us into fear, lack of consciousness, competitiveness, and control, manipulation, and slavery. Ultimately, when we're in a monetary system, we're enslaved in some way, and we're kept separate from each other. We're not feeling our oneness. So that's what Mr. was saying. He said, you're never going to find that kind of love unless you, perhaps love him, because that type of surrender does not seem to be possible in human relationships. Although I have studied Tantra extensively, and that's where you learn to go past your skin-encapsulated separation self-sense into that transcendence, oneness, kind of like the Spock mind meld, merging with each other, which is necessary to feel your true oneness and transcend into universal consciousness. So that's been my path, what I've discovered. Karen,
well, we should all
your turn. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to say we should all be working together, and we should be happy to have found each other and listening to each other and sharing, sharing with each other. And I've talked to people, and they're in relationships or they're married, and their husbands don't know or their wives don't know, and they tell me they're in a healthy relationship. No. You cannot say you're in a healthy relationship. You are keeping a secret from your husband or wife or family members.
Well, I have gone through so much therapy and awareness of the secrets that one holds in life in this marriage, and I tell him everything. It's like too much information, but he knows everything about me. I have, and that's it. You need to be really known by somebody or someone. So he knows me, and that's part of the healing process for each person in humanity, every individual in the cosmos, to be known. And you can't be known if you're living a facade. You can't be known if you're not living in this authentic life. So that was my commitment to myself. And I said, well, honey, you're my person. So you're my witness of who I really am. So I guess Mr. is your witness of who you really are.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. And I do know that whatever we are always who we are, meaning whatever vessel or bond we have, our consciousness remains ours. And it's the essence of us that lives on when the bear breaks about God. And one of them, I just sent a message, and I haven't really, I haven't shared it on air. This is the first time from Mr. So first, this was a message that he gave me back in 2012, and people heard this one, but he gave me new words. All memories are passed and taken with each new life. When the load becomes too heavy, we travel or become light knowledge. Now, a lot of people were asking me, what do you mean by light knowledge energy? Well, Mr. gave me three words that describe light knowledge energy. It's enlightened conscious life. So we travel as enlightened conscious life between after the brain and the body die. And that's how I see Mr. So that's the first time that I've that's been said on air, because I just got that message from him a couple weeks ago to describe more clearly what light knowledge energy means.
So that's enlightened conscious life after the brain and body.
Conscious life. After the body and the brain is dead.
Well, that's interesting, because I've had 8 near-death experiences, so I've been out in that form. So I know personally that wherever you go, there you are. That it doesn't matter if you're in body or out of body. You still have awareness and knowledge that you exist. And so he's for, and that makes sense. My last contact with this gray that carried me on Johnson Atoll, he said, he was trying to explain where he was, and he says, well, I'm in a realm that you would call dead, but I still am. So he was trying to explain that after the brain and body dies, he was in enlightened conscious life. So that's what he was. That's a better. Mr. had a better way of explaining it than.
In fact,
my great friend.
ECL. I just call it ECL. We were also. I think it's really important that we hit on perception, the way we define our reality. And people that consider themselves, they're only considered abductions until we accept our reality as positive. And it is then that we can become participants or experiencers. Some people never become participants like us. But at least to accept, to go from an abductee, which is such a helpless word, to an experiencer. And once, you conquer the concept that we are all part of one energy, then you no longer fear the unknown or death. So my mission is so much more than simply assisting humanity to lose fear. It's about how we choose to accept and learn and share our experiences. So we all need to be validated, but more important, we need to listen. This is an opportunity for us to come together as a collective force to fight against the negative powers that work against us. The people that try to silence and debunk us or discredit us. Our strongest defense, love and unity.
Yeah,
So
the perception, in psychology we have TISIT, which is permission and information. It's like a formula for how you integrate these things like these perceptions. So first of all, you have permission to look at it differently. Permission to come past the victim mentality. I'm being abducted. As long as you're in victim, then you're always in the struggle. You're never going to have anything but the struggle. You're just going to be the victim.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
And then the information. What we're conveying, relating to people right now, is information. There's other people that have these experiences of where it's balanced. We're equal. We're in harmony with these other beings. We have a mission. It's part of our goals. It's part of our own decision that we made when we came here to this planet to fulfill our mission. Yeah. So. Yeah.
I wanted to address. I was going to save that for closing, but I think it's appropriate that I say this now. I wanted to address all the abductees, experiencers, and participants that are suffering in silence, because I know your pain. I lived it for 50 years. The secrets you keep inside because you don't want to get bullied or mocked, ridiculed, called crazy and delusional. I've experienced them all, and I still am. And this is how we heal. It's like a witch hunt. Why do you think that they have comedy shows like People of Earth and cartoons depicting aliens in such absurd manners? It is to keep us ashamed, silent, and to keep this subject a joke. So I don't find humor in something that has turned my life upside down. And I have a handful of cases that I see occasionally, and their treatment of me has changed. They are not comfortable around me, and the subject is never addressed. I'm that crazy Aunt Nancy. I'm that crazy grandma. I'm that crazy sister. It hurts. It hurts like hell, but it doesn't hurt like any the 50 years of silence.
Right. So you can never be known, never be yourself, and when you reveal yourself, you're ridiculed, and that is very hurtful. And it's just another form of prejudice, bias, and it needs to end. And so that's why Free and other organizations are creating this awareness universally across the planet that there are millions of people that are experiencers, millions upon millions.
There are. And Mr. has told me that I would never have been able to have written this book had my family been involved in my life, because they would have made my life so miserable with the jokes and the, I needed them, and I still need them out of my life. I'm already working on book 2, and I'm doing just fine without them. I'm surviving. The pain was horrible. I went to a therapist about a year ago because I thought I was going to die of a broken heart. And she said before I met her, I found her through free. She was a volunteer and happens to be an hour drive from where I live. And now we're friends. But she started off the first 2 visits as a therapist, and now we're just friends. But she said, send me your manuscript, and she read my manuscript, and we made an appointment for me to go in. And when I walked through the door, she said, well, I read your book, and I listened to one of your interviews, and I believe you. And I collapsed in her arms. I was just burst out. And she said, I don't want to regress you because you don't need it. You need to realize, number one, how intelligent you are, because you never knew that. And number two, you need to find joy in a world that you feel you don't fit in. And we're just good friends now. She's been wonderful. We email each other, and
well, that's wonderful, and that's
I'd like to ask a question. Yeah, Nancy, what is the name of your book, and when is it coming out, so people know? Because I think I'm very curious about it. I'd love to know about it.
Well, the name of the book is Symbiosis, and it's a love beyond space and time. And I received the words for this book through the song The Prayer. Every day I listen to that song, The Prayer, by Celine Dion. And yes, over and over again. And I truly believe that within the melody and the lyrics of the song that I found the words for the book. It is a story.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mister gave me the title of the book as I was driving. And he said Symbiosis. And I'm like, wow,
you couldn't wait till you pulled over somewhere. No, I get that. That's funny. That's great. No, I have a Mr. too, but he's Mr. Green, and he's my own experiences with reptilian, amphibian, draconian has all been positive, pretty much. Mr. Green is a sort of more like an amphibious hominid who lives on a Luna base on the far side of the moon, and I work on lunar anomalies and bringing people's awareness that the moon has been inhabited in the past and presently, and is even being used by our NASA scientists to convey messages via parabolic dishes that have been found in NASA photos that they didn't manage to smudge up, And so, it's like my one, I guess you'd say, abduction experience. I just considered it a, vacation break from Earth, actually. I was first contacted by a female reptilian being named Gilles, and she had this super high-pitched voice, and she was basically like my cruise director. She was sort of explaining to me what was going to happen, and mostly what she told me how I need to really be careful about fear, because I was in a situation where the more fearful I was, the more I would have applied to me what our dear friend John, who was just on here, calls alien anesthesia, and I did, and I didn't remember a lot of things until later, and then I remembered why I forgot so much. It was right at the end. I had a pleasant experience. It's kind of murky still. But at the end, I had a fit. I did not want them to return me to Earth. I had an absolute 2-year-old throw myself on the ground, cry, beat on the floor. Fit. I was in a very bad life situation, and that's why they kind of had to zonk me out. And it was interesting because my ex-husband at the time is a contactee, and I saw reptilians at the foot of our bed, but he saw a gray at the foot of our bed the same night. So there's something definitely happened. But yeah, it's like I think that I have an insectoid contact. I have a number of contacts with beings that were just definitely not, bipedal humanoid types. And the thing is my feeling is that they're kind of like when they say, what do they want? Are they scary? The word they is kind of useless because you're first of all talking about hundreds of thousands of species, and then they're like us. Yeah. I mean, are all humans good or bad? Well, it just sort of depends on if you run into Hitler or Mother Teresa, how the response. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like, we're a mixed bag, and I think and some of them are service to self, and some of them are service to others, just like humans. And It gets really complicated when you get out there, but what I'm hearing is that you got the energy signature of this being with it. It's like making friends with somebody on Facebook. You get a sense of who they are, and then later maybe you get a chance to meet them in real life, and it's amazing how much translates through telepathy of who they are, just like I call it the internet, INERNET, inner, in within. You develop a relationship, and I'm glad you're speaking about that, because it's one of the harder things to explain to non-experiencers is that these are not just, I had this visitation. These are beings that I have ongoing working relationship, learning about them and us and what's going on, as well as a friendship. I've had times when that was my only friendships, was these other worldly beings, because the people around me were being poopy heads, and I didn't have a pleasant experience with my fellow humans for a while. Now I'm in a much better situation, but I'm really glad you wrote this book. It sounds like a doozy.
Aw, and I'm glad that your experiences have been positive. That's wonderful. Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it for anything, and it came to me about 2012 too. I probably marked that I had my first contact at 5, and then I was in a mind control program and had an implant, probably government issue or negative being issued. It's like it was a cooperative program, and it was discontinued when I was 45. So I went 40 years of just being really unsure of who I am, getting all these messages, where are they coming from, and really traveling alone. So I like what you said. It's better to not have a bunch of pests. Well, I consider I have family and I have relatives, and there is a difference. So it's like my relatives, I'm kind of glad they're out of the picture, because I don't need the flack. I don't need I was a caregiver for quite a few family members, so I get a lot, can you do this, can you do that, which I didn't mind helping my grandma and my daughter who was disabled. I didn't mind all that, but I had a mission, and my mission was more than just caring for other people, which is a positive thing, I think. It's also very negative because it's draining. But now I'm doing something else, and I had that feeling since I was 5, and finally I was able to make that transition to kind of get my spirit and mind ready to make these connections, and now I have all these contacts. I have sort of primary ones I work with, and others they've just told me information. And you said kind of something about that is, I was in computer science, and I'd studied systems theory, and a system, like we have a thought form system that controls our reality, human reality. A system is going to operate the way it does, just like a machine, unless new information comes in to change it, especially in biological systems, And this is what the opportunity is from our otherworldly, or I call my invisible friends, is that they're giving us new information. And as much as we can absorb it and integrate it and share it, we really are the best hope to make changes. And I also want to say I really resonate with what you're saying about ufology being very patriarchal. And I think that's a shame. I think that's a shame for another factor, is that you said something about being part of the hybrid program as well as I think that it's kind of on purpose to be patriarchal, because probably a lot of people are very uncomfortable and think it's a can of worms to talk about the hybrid program, and yet I think this is a very primary experience of a lot of women who are experiencers. I was wondering if you wanted to talk about that a bit.
Well, it gets women upset when I say this, but every time I've been aboard, men run the show, and women are the caregivers. And we're talking about beings that are thousands of years advanced beyond us, and we're right back where, and I'm old, so I believe that. I actually like male chauvinist pigs, but women are the caregivers, and the men run the show, and that's how I was raised. And when I was on board with my son Drex, I saw my daughter Faylene for the first time. and he's a caregiver to my son Drax, and that was very comforting to me to see that and to know that. And even last time,
I don't think it's bad to be a caregiver. I think it's a very high calling.
No,
my biggest gripe with our society is how we don't support that activity in terms of, like, you know, I've lost career paths. You know, my career was always interrupted by somebody got sick. I had to take care of them. I lost a business over at one time. And so I've suffered financially for it, and yet that is so important. Caring for children, caring for our families, caring for older people and the disabled. That's a very high spiritual calling, and yet it seems to not be recognized. That's interesting to me that they have that, you know, in these more advanced cultures, because it is a positive thing. There's nothing negative about it.
And what I find really interesting is how many women that I have met that are experiencers are caregivers. I was a caregiver. I took care of a woman with multiple sclerosis. You know, I did volunteer work for hospice. So, and so many of my experiencer female friends are caregivers. So there's something to that.
Oh, yeah. I had one contact with an insectoid being who is a science officer on a mothership, and his contacted me. You know, I was kind of like, it indicated to me that it had to be something in yourself that resonates kind of with that other being that kind of helps form the connection for telepathy. And in this case, this being is on their planet. They have a really difficult time looking at planet Earth and humanity right now when we have so many children being abused and trafficked and abandoned and all that, because that's not something they would ever do. They're very protective of their young. And probably the most embarrassing question I've ever been asked as a human being is how do you does that happen? How's that possible? You know, I was a very nurturing parent. I made my mistakes, but I was a very nurturing parent, and that would always bothered me too. So it was like we had a resonant connection, and I said, I don't know. I think, you know, I just said I think there's something about Earth right now that is experiencing these things, maybe to, you know, decide that that's negative and we don't want to do it anymore in the future. But it was really, I was like, you know, kind of embarrassed, because even if we don't make the choice to look at what is going on in the world with homelessness and all that negative stuff that's happening to people, that doesn't mean that other beings can't see it. So it was really embarrassing, you know.
Well, this is a perfect time for me to bring up what I wanted to talk about, empathy.
Yeah.
There was a study done in the University of Michigan. I live in Michigan, by Sarah Conrad. And it was a study over 30 years. It involved 72 different studies of 14,000 students. And she found that students of today have 40%, I'm going to repeat this because it's alarming, 40% lower in empathy than the counterparts of 20 and 30 years ago. So we are creating a society of antisocial, sociopaths is what we have.
Wow.
And that's frightening. This is frightening to me, and that's why they're here now. We can't continue like this. 40% less empathy. You know, empathy is love. Empathy is what makes us human. Without empathy, there will be war.
Right.
You know, again, I have to go
that's right on. I've had some conversations with millennials, and it's like, what's going on? And so, how do you think we got there? Was this part of the conditioning? And it seems like our media, our songs, our movies, our television, they numb us down to violence.
Yes.
You just see it
the
all the time.
We're numb to. Watching children starving doesn't mean anything to us. You know, kids have their heads buried in their cell phones. They don't feel. I mean, I can see it in the kids around me. They don't have it. They're not like we were growing up. You know, I still cry at old lassies. Yeah, empathy is actually being weaned out of us, and that is why they are here. They're doing much needed upgrading. They're geneticists, and that's why they're here, studying these emotions of empathy, fear, and removing rage. You know, this is very needed. They are here to save us from ourselves.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I can't help but think that wasn't, done intentionally, because part of this whole grand experiment is feeling our connection and loving oneness within our skin encapsulated forms, which have thick skin. We're called thick-skinned, right? When we're in the next level, we're in a permeable form where we can merge with each other and feel each other. We literally feel each other. I read a number of books, the Gaia Project, a couple other books that said that one of the reasons that they created the human experience and the Earth experience was to feel what it was like to be separate, so that we have self and not self, but learn how to connect even though we perceived that we were separate. And that was the experiment, the polarity, self, not self. Can we love each other even though we have the potential to kill each other? In the other level of existence, we feel each other so intensely we can't kill each other. And that was part of what my friend who's in the secret space program, they told her husband, punch, her husband's human, and they said to him, punch this extraterrestrial. And he said, I have nothing against him. Why do you want me to punch him? Well, it's just a demonstration. Just punch him. So Tom punched him. And then they said, okay, now kill him. And they gave him a gun. And they had to convince him. And he said, no, it's okay. Just kill him. And then he goes, what's that about? Why do you make me do that? He goes, because we're not capable of punching. We're not capable of hitting. We're not capable of killing. And the reason why this experiment, from their perception, was where they added reptilian DNA is so that we could be the warrior species that would protect the different parts of the universe from these beings that are on the total opposite end of the polarity from universal consciousness. They're the total opposite end of good and dark and evil. They can come in and just wipe out planets and everything on it without, so much as blinking an eye. And they said we need the warrior species to protect us from those beings that, consciousness is expanding, but they still exist. And we never know when they're going to hit. So they have the warrior race, which is humanity. I guess in some way it's noble, but then because we have those abilities, we forget who we are, and then we just start getting petty and killing each other for no reason. So I don't know the answer, but I've just been examining it, and I'm wondering if Mr. has told you anything, has clued you in on what is this whole thing about.
You're talking about war?
I'm talking about, this whole war, evil, good, light, dark, the continuum, the universe. Yes.
Well, I was given an illustration, and I don't have it in front of me anyway. Past, present, and future are all in the same circle. We're just going in a circle. It's just repeated over and over and over again. I want to say I'm watching the same movie that everybody else is watching, only maybe my screen is a little wider, and sometimes I can see around the bend, and I'm sure you can too as an experiencer. And we're in trouble. And yeah, I'd like to just leave that part of it right there, but we are in trouble. And this is one of the beautiful scenes that I had been, visions that I had been given. I'm standing amid, and they put this illustration in my head to draw, and I'm standing and looking at the night sky, and it is literally filled with every ship, orb, craft, triangular color that you can imagine, and it is the most beautiful feeling of unconditional love. And I'm standing there saying, thank you, thank you. And all of a sudden, one of the messages that they gave me is connected to this image that I've drawn. And the message was, our messages are not meant for everyone. Many will be left behind. Now, when they first gave me that message, I didn't think they meant it literally. They did. Many will be left behind. The people that are not, that do not know that they're abductees or experiencers, or they're not a part of this, it's too late. Time has passed for them, even though time is an illusion. It's over. They're not going. They will be left behind as we go into the next dimension without them. And this is why I get so upset with the people who are experiencers and not coming forward and sharing their information for fear of, retribution. They're cowards. They signed up for this mission. And they have to come forward and share, because only as a collective force are we're going to be able to get through this. Mm-hmm. We've got some tough times coming ahead of us. We're going to need each other more than ever, and that's why we're coming together right now. We're finding each other. We're finding our own tribes. We're finding each other right now. We're put together. Right now, this conversation, this is why we're here. Thoughts are real, and they have a creative energy.
Right. So we got to be careful what we're thinking.
Absolutely. Yes, we do. We have to watch our thoughts, and that's Sherry Wilde has said that also. We have to watch our thoughts. And
see, what I was given was that we are the chooser, and that that's a potentiality to go into this Armageddon type reality, or World War III, or leaving people behind. And I was shown 24 multiverses, and they were the totality of, kind of punctuated across the totality of existence, from the complete annihilation of the Earth, blowing up into stardust, to this oneness. We're all together, and we're all the way to source, and we remember who we are. But the variables in between, the variations on the theme, were all available to us, and that we, as the observer participant, can choose. It's like going into a big theater, and there's 24 movies to watch. Which one do you want to watch? Do you want to do the dark experience? And so they're really, like we started to show, there's no victims. There's really no victims in all this. That these are the potentialities, but each individual can choose which movie they want to go into, which reality they want to see,
and
what
they
want to experience. Yeah. And that was what I received when I was 4. But when I was 4, they took me on the ship, and immediately when I was there, I was my eternal self. I had the awareness of who I was in my totality, of everything I've ever done. It was kind of amazing to hold that, right? But in order to come into this body, you can only bring a thread, a teeny tiny thread of who you are in totality of existence. And so that thread is the one that's struggling to understand and comprehend everything that's been that I've experienced and I've been told or downloaded, like you, the ambassador, that they're careful not to overload this little brain. This little brain is just not able to handle it all. It'll sort of.
They spoon feed us. Well, I feel that they spoon feed me, and they keep telling me that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be in this. And I, like you, was also given, I was given this beautiful vision of the ships and orbs coming to get the awakened ones. And then I was also given the vision of disaster, and I was shown tremendous winds with trees bent head down to the ground and electrical poles tumbling one by one. And it was as if I was watching slides in a slide projector, and they would quickly take me from one scene into the next. And then I saw a large body of water, and it was filled with people that were struggling to stay afloat. And some were waving their arms at us in the ship over their heads, and they were signaling for help. And they reminded me of bobbing apples. But I was able to distinguish each individual's face and their unique fear. And I was also able to hear each individual's screams and cries for help. And I watched as people fell to their death off of amusement rides and were left hanging helplessly. And I wondered why they were showing me this and why I wasn't a part of it. And I was told, you must see these things and you must feel these emotions. And I wonder if I'm being shown the earth to come or what it could be. And I don't want to see it anymore. Yeah.
Well, that just reminded me of a dream I call it a dream, an experience I had the other day. And I'm walking down this, I'm given screen memories so I don't blink back into my body. They say, well, this is your old hometown, Avalon. I haven't been there in 30 years, so I don't know what it looks like. And so they give me these screen stories and memories, and I stay there. And then I start getting lucid and aware, okay, I'm in the, whatever they want me to experience. This is a real thing. I'm not sleeping. I'm actually there. Okay, so I'm feeling everything, and they make sure that I'm connected and I'm aware I'm there. And then they make everything comfortable for me. So the air is not cold nor hot. It's exactly perfect. And I can feel that I'm there in my face. I'm walking through water, and the water is the exact temperature. And I go, okay, so I'm not to be distracted by the elements. What's going on? Then they show me the massive destruction. And they don't let me know if it's future or past or another world. What they want is the emotions, because they can't feel those emotions themselves. So at that point, they're tapped into me completely, and they feel me as I keep walking, and I see more and more devastation. I just get overwhelmed with grief and tears and emotions. And at the end of it, it's like, okay, you guys got enough? Do you know what it's like being in this human body to feel these intense emotions? And then they return me, and I'm in my bed, and then I'm aware now I'm in my bed. I'm no longer in the scenario where they have me. And they said, okay, we understand. We're not going to allow that to happen to your people, to this world.
Yeah. Well, they have comforted me.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And they have comforted me after some of these horrifying visions that I've been shown, and they've told me this is just a vision. But you realize it's just a vision, but at the time, it's overwhelming. And I got mad the one time, and I said, don't do this to me again, But they need to evoke these emotions. And sexual pleasure is another one that they evoke.
Well, I've had a lot of interesting sexual experiences. I kind of laugh at them. I go, okay, that was nice. Now what? one time they had this being, and the penis was coming at me, and I was screaming, and this was many, many years ago. And I wake up, and I was going to a group, a very advanced level group at that time, and they're all talking about regular dreams. I go, okay, you want to hear mine? Okay. So I tell them how this very strange penis entered my body, and it's like, But I'm so happy when I got my period and I wasn't pregnant, and I go, well, okay, maybe you took it, but I didn't really want to experience, carrying this thing inside of my body and being aware of that. So in some way they are merciful. They don't, they don't subject me to a lot of stuff.
You never had hybrid children.
I've never had what?
Hybrid children. You don't have any hybrid children.
Yes, I do. I was sitting one time in the front room with my best friend at the time, and we had been going to the Honolulu UFO discussion group for years, and she just turned me out of the blue. We were waiting for these monks to come, and the Tibetan monks were going to be on stage, and we were in the front row, and she just turned to me, she goes, you have a whole village of children. And she looks at me, and I don't know why she was getting it down, and looking at it, and I go, my eyes got wide, I go, you're right, because it's not limited to how many eggs we produce and periods we have. And I just dotted. I go, oh yeah, they could just split me and hybrid and clone me, and she says, you have a whole city of children. I go, I think you're right, but I've been shown some individuals. See, if they liked our DNA, they like our DNA. And as Heinlein said in one of his books, I think it was Time Enough for Love or Stranger to Strange Land, he says, no one owns their DNA. So DNA belongs to the cosmos. And if they want your DNA, they'll take it, and they'll use it, and they'll create from it. And if they like it, and it's good DNA, they'll take those elements and make a bunch of variations on the theme. But they don't all have to look human. They can... Heinlein said in his one book. Yeah, go ahead. Your son what? Your son looks like what?
Very alien. His name is Drax. And I was 62 when I gave birth to Drax. And, I've gone through my change of life. I had a tubal ligation. There was no way I could have gotten pregnant, yet I knew immediately when I got pregnant. And I bonded with him. I sent a picture of the claw marks. Did we talk about that?
Of the what?
The claw marks on my breast from him breastfeeding.
Oh yeah. We can talk about that. Go ahead. I have it on the webpage.
They gave me, his name also, and I was pregnant from February 2nd to April 15th of 2012. And after they took him, they told me, and they used the word claimed. They claimed him. And I found that an odd word to use, because we know what claimed means, but I looked it up in the dictionary, and, he belonged to them. And I asked him how they were able to get me pregnant, and they gave me a vision of a bowl with a large spoon making stirring motions. So I was to understand that Drax was a combination of me, Mr., and Sid, the man that I was dating at the time. And they told me that they were making several groups of beings for specific purposes for the new Earth, and that Drax is a thinker, and they put the words quotations around the word thinker, which is one of a group of beings that will serve as a judge. And I was told that Drax will make many wise decisions, as he is a judge of sorts, and every society needs judges. So that was, and I was told that he was a gentle and loving being. Now, he has the giant eyes. He's hunched back. He is a digitigrade, which means he walks on his toes. He has claws. And I was very upset with the way he looked. And Mr. said he looks exactly as he is meant to be. And I think that was the only time I ever felt a tone of anger or discontent in something that Mr. had said to me. He was very upset with me that I had put placed such importance on looks.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's another reason why he had the cover changed, because humans place so much value on the looks, not getting beyond, So now I see my son as beautiful.
I went through that.
Go ahead.
I went through that drawing Mr. Green because he wanted to make sure I portrayed him fairly accurately, and also the little uniform that he wore, because somebody somewhere knows what that uniform means. And he was giving me very careful directions to do the same thing. And I think I have a problem with humans and they're being stuck on looks, because I do have my daughter is in a wheelchair, and she's real cute. She's got red hair, and she's kind of a cutie pie, but she is in this wheelchair, and right away there's a barrier. When someone has a visible disability, my daughter was born with spina bifida, and she's paraplegic, and she's in a wheelchair. So I took care of her for 20 years, and now she's in a care facility because I can't really do it anymore. It's a lot of work. But so I was there with her for 20 years, learning about how humans are so looks oriented and make a lot of assumptions when you've got a visible disability. And of course we have issues a lot with each other on racial stuff, and I'm thinking, how are we going to handle 12-foot green aliens, or 8-foot insectoid being, or how are we going to handle these really more drastic differences with our alien friends if we're sort of tripped over because somebody's in a wheelchair? I always wondered about that.
We accept all these strange-looking animals, octopus and hippopotamus. What's the difference, between an alien? I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
We think that's a lesser species. We think that's a lesser species, and that we're the top of the food chain, and we're so super smart, and I would, if we had to put that in court, I think we wouldn't win that case, just because of how much damage we do to the other species on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if we went into a Star Wars movie and we'd go into the cantina, we'd go, oh, look at all those species, how cool! I want to get that action figure. But but if we have this happen in the real world, and they're suddenly, going down the highway driving cars beside us, we're probably going to freak out. But I think we're getting used to it. This whole conditioning that we're going through right now is happening everywhere. I was just watching I'm behind in time, but I'm watching a Supergirl episode, and they said, well, there's these secret places where the extraterrestrials meet, and you go in there, and they all, they can shapeshift and look like different things, but there they are, all looking normal, and there's extraterrestrials walking among, on the Earth and among humans. I think a lot of this information is coming out in our, science fiction and in our television dramas and movies and things like that, and I think it's preparing us for the day when we're going to be aware they walk among us. I have encountered extraterrestrials in my house. They've come to my house, and I knew the one guy that was here said he wasn't human. And what do you do when you're sitting there at your dinner table, right? You're just you let it go. And then when they leave, I go, honey, that wasn't really a human person. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I've interacted with them, on board ship, and in my experience at night, I know they're testing the water, and it's like they wanted to see how I reacted, and of course my husband, he never reacts negatively to anything. He just says, oh yeah, he's very relaxed and open-minded, You know, I don't know how he does it.
You're so lucky. Yeah, you are so lucky to have him. Yeah. I get very lonely.
Therapist. Well, he's obviously somebody more than who he is. You know, he's an amazing person, and he's been a therapist. He's 77. He's been doing psychotherapy for, 50 years, right? And he's worked with and heard every story imaginable. And part of what he did is he studied with Stan Groff and John Mack. You remember John Mack?
Do I? And he's my
John
hero.
Mack. Okay.
Yeah,
well, they attended these workshops all over the world, like in northern Canada, different places, right? Retreat centers, and they did these holotropic breathwork things with hundreds and thousands of people over the years, and a lot of people in these holas. And it was all, done so Stan wouldn't be in trouble legally. So they would take sacraments. They would take entheogens, specifically entheogens, which would open the doors of perception and open the veils. And they would come, a lot of them would go into, their own issues and who they were before they were born and, meeting angels, going in past lives. But many, 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 and this is going back since the 40s or 50s, it's all been documented, have extraterrestrial experiences.
Yeah.
And they come back and they report to the group. And there's been, tens of thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands of people for the last 40, 50 years doing these controlled experiments in the holotropic breathwork. So he got kind of used to it. Oh, what else is new?
Have you found that most every experiencer can remember past lives? I've found that quite common.
Say that again. There, is the experiencer. Say that again. You broke up a little bit.
Yeah, the phone is breaking up on mine too. No, I was saying that most experiencers can remember past lives. I've found that very common.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember your past lives?
Yeah, a few of them. Yeah, I do. And there's a meaning to each past life. There's a lesson to be learned, is what I have found. One of my past lives, I was in a foxhole. I was a man, and I was in a foxhole with another man. And we could actually see a bomb coming at us, and we knew we were going to die. And I put my arms around him, and I said, "We'll go together." And as I said that, bomb hit, and I imploded. I felt myself. I actually felt the pain. It was a quick pain, but imploded from the inside, and I was in a million pieces. And the lesson that I learned from that was, death is something that no one can do with you. It is a very lonely journey, and it is hours alone. And I experienced a total oneness at that time. I realized, wow, that this is far away from another human or another being as you can get. Yeah, I've had several. I remember being in an iron lung. In one of my past lives.
So you remembered I want to go back to that first one. When you exploded, you said you're going to go together, but when you...
Yes, I put my arm around him, and I said, "We'll go together." Like if we hung on real tight, we'd be together as we died. But as one hit, and my body, from the inside out.
Yeah.
It was everywhere. And
it was everywhere.
I thought of him was gone completely. And I realized that this is a journey. This journey of death is something that we do alone, and no one can be with us during that journey.
Right. So how long were you alone before someone came and got you, or came to you, or appeared to you?
I don't know. I think that's when I became enlightened conscious life. and then looked for another vessel, or took another vessel on.
Fascinating. Yeah, I remember past lives and leaving my body and my thoughts when I left my body. And I remember one. What's that?
You said you died several times. I'd love to hear about what you experienced.
Okay. One, I had a best friend who was male, and I had a woman that I loved, and I was male. And my best friend got killed before me. We were fighting. I call it the storming of the Bastille. I was a rebel, and we were living in the forest, and we were trying to rebel against the existing government. And so I came back to the forest, and I found everybody was destroyed, so I wanted to go back and get my beloved. And so I went back to the Bastille, and I went into the Bastille. For some reason, I thought she was in there. And as soon as I got in there, I was surrounded by troops, and I kept going up levels until I got to the top level of the building. And I came out in the balcony, and this guy, he was the head of this army that was after me with swords, and I knew him. He was called Nemesis. He was my nemesis for many, many, many lifetimes. And so I was very athletic, and I jumped up on the rail almost like someone from a circus. I was so athletic, like a gymnast. And I started fighting him, and I was going back across the rail, and I knew I could stab him, like many, many times. I could have killed him. But I knew there's part of me that's like, I can't really kill another person, and that was what my best friends kept saying. They said, well, you're so good at this, sword fighting, but you're never going to kill anybody. We're just doing mock stuff. And so he was so right. I couldn't kill this person. So I turned around, and there was a tapestry, and I thought, well, I'll try to grab it, and maybe I can escape that way. And when I grabbed the tapestry, it ripped. And then I went, well, I'm not going to hit the ground. That'll hurt. So I left my body. And when I left my body, I was met by my best friend, male friend, and my beloved, and she had her head chopped off. They had taken her to the guillotine, and they had, killed her. So, but we immediately reunited, and we started laughing hilariously. We go, oh my God, I can't believe we just lived that life. I can't believe we just, like the most amazing thing. And we went off together, and then years later, I married. This is my second marriage, and my husband, he hated me touching his neck. I just said to him one day, I says, sweetheart, you're not going to lose your head again the way you did the last time. And he's very conservative, didn't believe it. And he said, stop it! And he knew that I knew who he was.
Right.
I'm so wicked.
Oh, I love
So, but my girlfriend and I used to sit there on our vacation from Penn State University whenever we had long weekends or holidays and nobody else around. We would hypnotize each other. We would go back to all these past lives, and she had so many past lives. It was amazing. But they the book, the Michael Newton Institute books on Life Between Lives says that if you're a human being alive now, you've had hundreds, if not thousands of past lives already. So
exactly.
That was something you talked earlier about, Janet, about the organization FREE, which is Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters, and you guys can find them on Facebook, the group on Facebook. I helped get started. But that was a marker of people who were experiencers, had a near-death experience. It was a really high percentage when they did their survey of how many people who, it's like the near-death experience kind of opened the gate for them to have the other remembrances of abductions and past lives both, And I had a near-death, a couple of them, but I had a near-death experience. It seems like whenever I've really gotten close to exiting, it was because of a virus. I've had a pneumonia and a few things, and one virus in particular, I was like really in between the worlds, and I literally by myself. I wasn't on any machines or anything in the hospital, but I was in a containment room because I had I had a virus other people get, and I literally just sort of didn't breathe for 10 minutes. I would just was kind of in between, like maybe even in a moment. I don't know what it was, and I was trying to decide whether I wanted to stay here or not. So this has happened to me a number of times of, do I really want to stay here and do this mission, or not? And then something comes along to make me keep going, But when we're talking about lack of empathy, it's also an apathy. In other words, we really need our sense of mission. We really need a reason. We need to have some hope that we could, if we can't be completely successful what we envision, we can at least influence, other people, support other people, help each other. But I mean, it's like once you kind of cross over into awareness of that, so much of our society and religion and everything is like you are your body in this one go around a merry-go-round of life, and once you kind of let go of that, it seems like you get this outsider looking in perspective, and a near-death experience or remembering a past life or having an experience, even just a fleeting one, it just puts you in a different perspective completely, and it changes how you view everything. And then you look around and you feel like you're in zombie world because everyone else is in this program. I've been talking a lot to people in the last few weeks about deprogramming yourself, is that I was in a cult, in a program, and a government program as well, and it's like I had to have help, and I credit my friends along the way, to go be invited to this process of sort of dehypnotizing myself from the value system that we have that we're, I feel like politically, like our presidential situation is like when you're going to go erase a program and it says, "Are you sure?" This is our big "Are you sure?" Because it seems like a lot of gains that we've had in appreciating each other, being concerned about the poor, being concerned, embracing diversity and all of that, we sort of took it for granted that we were doing that process, and just to find out that there's a bunch of other people that were reacting very, very negatively. I call some people smoldering balls of hate, unfortunately, because it's like it's sort of, you turn over the soil and you see all the bugs, It's like it seems like it's kind of brought all that to the surface, and I'm like, oh my God, I've been down the road of my own deprogramming, and I'm like, wow, some people just barely started, and maybe like your beings were saying maybe they're not even going to do it at all. I mean, I don't really see some people even having any incentive whatsoever, particularly if they're like, well, I study hierarchy, the dynamics of hierarchy, negative hierarchy, pyramid structures, and it seems like I have been saying this thing, hierarchy doesn't do anybody any good. If you're on the bottom, you're being abused and taken advantage of. If you're on the top, you have no incentive to improve spiritually whatsoever because every whim is granted, and you have all this power, and you don't have any incentive to change. I think we have an elitist president. I think that's one of his problems. And the people in the middle I call it the middle muddle. They're sort of muddled because they are caught between all these different levels of an interaction which is imposed on us, but isn't us, I don't think, at our soul level. I don't. I'm in anyone. Yes.
There was a call. Oh, there's a call. Would you like to see who that is? Maybe they have a question.
Yeah, let's go ahead and bring them in. It looks like a similar area code to Nancy.
Yeah, let's see.
Area code 516. Would you like to talk on Aquarian Radio Friday show?
Yes, I would love to. Hi, is this Janet Lessin?
That's
yeah,
Karen, but I'm
Karen
Janet.
Patrick and Nancy.
Yes, this is Hugh Charlson, Janet.
Oh, hi, Hugh. Yes,
And
welcome. It's been years.
Yes, I have a lot more information that I would like to share because your guest was saying it so correctly. It's time that we really start uniting, and thoughts are extremely powerful. So we have to really go to unconditional love and spirituality to everything and root out corruption in the process. That's the biggest problem that we're here working on, is the corruption globally. So
right.
I'd like to share a Facebook page. I don't do anything inbound or outbound on the internet myself, but when you see, and be sure Sasha sees this too, because there's a lot of psychology involved with it, and I actually share common background with President Trump, but I'm not into the ego like he is. My last name has global recognition, and I am bringing forth strategies that will transform economics, education, politics, religion, and more. They can't be stopped. They'll bring more and more transparency, and I'm looking to empower women and indigenous people in the process with what I'm doing too. So if you put my name, Hugh, H-U-G-H, Charlson, T like Tom, R-A-U-L-S-E-N like Nancy, and then after my name, Facebook profiles. There's 4 different Facebook pages. There's one, a picture of me with my finger on a big globe or a marble ball, and that's the one to click on. And on the About page, or wherever it says About, there's a website, rootingoutcorruption.weebly.com, that's loaded with all kinds of very powerful information. I've had UFO, paranormal, and near-death experiences, and I have a lot of documentation wherever I can.
Hugh, do you have a specific question for our guest, Nancy, about
again, I think that women are going to be one of the biggest factors to be empowered for our future, and I don't know how she's thinking about that, but they are the best ones to help with balancing the divine masculine, divine energy, feminine energies that we all have. But it has to be the right kind of women, because there are some that are manipulative, and I've run into that too.
All right. Well, let's thank you for coming on board. We are going to take that ball and run with it, and we'll take a look at the website. Thanks so much.
Thank you for taking.
Okay. So, Nancy, is that applicable in a new way? Can you take that ball and run with it?
I really don't know what to say to that. I think he was complimenting us. Yes,
that's okay.
Women, we do have the most important role. I believe that. That's why we are the ones that give birth. That is why we are the caregivers. You ever seen a man with a headache? They say that if a man had to give birth, he would actually die from the pain. They could never handle the physical pain of giving birth. We really are the stronger ones. We just let them think they are. That's how I was raised.
Right. Karen, do you have any comments?
Oh, no, I think that was great, and I appreciate when someone in some of those echelons there recognizes what other people are recognizing, is that our economic system is sort of the agreement we all have with each other, and if it is an unfair agreement, then that's really a reflection of our value system that, if we are having a lot of intervention. This is I did a lot of automatic writing starting in 2010, and I was writing about the economic system because they wanted me to pay attention. And they said, that within the works is a transition from scarcity to an abundance. We actually don't know how to handle abundance economically. We got to make we actually manufacture scarcity. So, water used to be abundant around us. Now we put it in bottles and charge a lot more for it. We have some mindsets that are just a negative spiral. And our economics is our agreement with how we trade with each other and help each other. So that's one of the things that shocked me the most, I think, when they told me this, was how unequivocal they were. They said, this is going to change, kind of almost with an implied whether you like it or not, or whether it's comfortable or not. Simply because we're so far into scarcity mindset that we're affecting more than just our own lives. We're affecting the planet and also other beings that we don't even know that we're affecting. Is also being affected by this sort of death spiral of vampiric mutual predation, kind of at the baseline of our economics, and corruption. I will appreciate Hugh's comment to say corruption, and we're sort of having it again like that, turning over the soil. Sort of, it's been flushed out, and we're actually looking at it. It's very unpleasant, but that's the beginning of making the change for sure. And women, we give of ourselves. Like, we traditionally have roles where we just help, we just do, and we don't get paid for it. We don't think in terms of monetary rewards when we're nurturing people in a traditional role, and yet that's been devalued. That part of work, I call it humans get up in the morning and do stuff. That is not a job with a salary. It has to be done, and the jobs that have a salary in the economy actually would collapse if that part fell apart. If we didn't get up and help our families go to work and make the system run, it would completely collapse. And so we need to recognize the value of contribution of all kinds, for sure, not just monetary. Yeah. Do you have a website, Nancy? I wanted to ask if you had a website or anything like that to make sure people could either pre-order your book or know when it's coming, or what do they need to do to find out?
Yeah. Grant's handling that. This is my first book. So there's going to be pre-order, and I believe next month it should be on Amazon for pre-order.
Okay, good. And what was the name of your book again, so people can...
The name of the book, Symbiosis, A Love Beyond Time and Space.
Okay.
A Love Beyond
That's
Space
not available yet. Grant is putting it together. I love Grant Cameron, by the way. He's one of the most amazing people.
And I'll tell you, it's his publishing company. It's all connected, is the name of the company. And between him... Desta Barnaby, Katerina Estrella, Matt Lacasse, Doug Alt, David Shade, they've made this book possible, and Michael Milton has added a chapter at the end also. So, and David's doing the cover and has a chapter at the end of the book because he's a researcher and a ufologist, and very, very knowledgeable about the reptilians. So his chapter is very important.
Yeah, it would be nice to do a whole book about the reptilian interaction with all these different... if you have reptilian stories, send it to me. I'll compile it together. I'm working on getting money together for conferences. It's so hard to put on these conferences. We lost the one that was done in Maine, Audrey Starboard, I guess we'll say. Audrey, she used to do it, and she's just not going to get the money enough to pull it off. It's very expensive to get the venue. So we need to do that. We need to fill in that gap. So I'm collecting stories and, using my ability to compile things and put them up on CreateSpace and have a special fund set up for book sales. And it's not that much yet, but hopefully over time, we get the word out. We start doing all these stories, and people tell their stories. Even if you just do a chapter, it becomes evident. It's overwhelming. There are thousands of people that have had various experiences like yours. Although I think yours, Nancy, it's quite unique because you are taking it into this other level that you are an ambassador with a mission. We have about 8, 9, 10 minutes left. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you know about your mission, why you're here, what you're supposed to do here, what you hope to accomplish?
Well, I'm one of the things is Mr. wanted this book out, and he actually helped me write this entire book. So, and it's a story of my entire childhood, my life, and how I survived in a world that I've never felt a part of, and raised in a family that keeps secrets and protects and defends its molesters and silences the innocent. And I share my multiple abusive marriages and the way I actually described myself as scar tissue. And I share a lot of the loving messages that I've received and the illustrations that have been given to me over the past 6 years, visions that I've been shown, both horrifying and beautiful, the manipulation of time, missing time that I had with treason people, and what I refer to as voids. And I talk about my pregnancy and Drax and my experiences on board and the procedures that were performed on me, and I describe their purpose. And I write of Mr. the Greys and the nice one that was a female hybrid that was on board that showed me love and compassion. And the heartbreak of losing my girlfriend Cindy 2 years ago, and while writing the book. She was on board in 1961 on board ship. I sent you a picture of the two of us in that group of pictures. And
oh,
I'm
yeah.
Still in contact. Yes, that's Cindy. That she was on board, and she had a lesson with my regression therapist. And her regression pretty much mirrored mine. And I'm glad that she at least got to do that before she died. And I still have an ongoing relationship with the former police chief of Novi, Michigan from 1961, who is now starting to speak out about a full military investigation that was done that evening. And getting all my memories back of that evening as we discuss it. And they either came from New Mexico or Arizona. They were Air Force. They came to the police escorted them to my house. Now, remember, I was 12 years old. The police escorted these men to my house, and they wanted to speak with me, a 12-year-old child. My father threatened to kill them. He was shortly thereafter. My father was a hydraulic engineer in the aerospace division of Sperry Vickers at the time, and he was never went away on a business trip. Well, he was sent on a business trip right after that to California, and I was silenced that night. That's why I never spoke of this for 50 years. The 1961 event was never spoken of, not to a husband, boyfriend, not to one soul. Even with Cindy after that night, her father did bring her over. My father didn't want him to, but Cindy would not go to sleep until she saw that I was home and I was safe. And the chief and I still talk at least once a month, and every time we speak, he remembers more and more about that evening. And I guess I was gone between an hour and a half to 2 hours. And the main thing, I'll get off the book. I want to speak to the people who are abductees, who still see themselves as abductees or experiencers. They have to come forward. They can't they have to come forward and start speaking about their experiences. They signed up for this mission, and it's the only way that we're going to create this collective force. You know, I know this message is redundant, but it is all about the love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the main message that I received from the Reptilians. It's all about the love.
Great. So
And I thank you to Grant Cameron so much, because I reached out, like I said, for 6 years I've been screaming, literally screaming to be heard. And people have ignored me, you know, hoping that I would go away, and tried to silence me and used my messages. I've actually seen some of my messages on other people's Facebook. And you know, it's been an ugly. There's been a lot of ugliness in this 6 years, and I just want us to all get along and help one another, and listen to one another, and love each other. We need each other.
Yeah. Most certainly we do.
Well,
And
we're down to... Oh, go ahead.
I want to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak out and to speak to two other women who have had positive reptilian experiences. I thank you both.
Well, thank you for coming on our show, and we are here to support you. When your book is out, let's have you on again. And we do get out the message to millions and millions of people. I see your book as a bestseller, and you're able to speak at conferences if that's your desire. And welcome you back anytime. We're actually adding another radio show. We're going to do some experiencer panels and bring out other experiencers and connect the dots and share our stories and discuss the issues like you brought up about how people perceive their experiences, and by changing your perception, you actually change your experiences. It's a weird phenomenon. But, I've had that happen personally.
Let's create a new reality. Yeah, let's create a new reality.
Oh, I
All
agree
right.
with that. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We're right to the end, and I just want to say thank you so much, Nancy, for speaking out. Hey, if you guys have heard it from Nancy, it's time, and I agree. And thank you, Janet, for yet another Friday night with you. We're kind of getting to some changes, and this has been wonderful. Exploring the stories of experiencers, I think it's really been a heartbeat for both of us. So thank you, both of you. Love and blessings.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Love and blessings.
Good night.
Good night.
Aloha. Good night.
Thank you for listening to Aquarian Radio Friday nights, The Experiencer Path. Thanks to the artists from freemusicarchive.org, Ketsa for Live With No Fear, and Scott Holmes, Mother Nature. You have been listening to the Aquarian Radio Network.
Have you heard? Metro by T-Mobile now includes Amazon Prime. Yes, enjoy the best of shopping and entertainment, movies, TV shows, music, free shipping, and much more. All included for just $40 per line for 3 lines. All on the T-Mobile network. Discover the smarter way. Metro by T-Mobile. That's genius. One offer per account. Offer subject to change. $12.99 per month value. Offer valid for new Amazon Prime members. Metro customers may notice reduced speeds versus some T-Mobile customers. Video at 480p. Capable device required. See store for details and terms and conditions.